How many opportunities have you talked yourself out of because you didn't feel qualified? Not because you weren't capable, not because you didn't have results, but because you convinced yourself that someone else knew more about something than you did. I see this every single day. People tell me, okay, Kim, I'd love to launch a mastermind someday. Kim, I don't think I'm ready. Kim, who am I to teach this? And every time I hear, I ask them one question: compared to who? Because you're not competing against the smartest person in the world. You're serving the person who's a few chapters behind you in the book that you're currently reading, or better yet, writing. That's all a mastermind is. We've somehow convinced ourselves that before we're allowed to lead, we need another certification. We need another degree. We need another $1 million, another 100,000 followers, another exit, another best-selling book. But think about your life. Who has impacted you the most? Was it always the person with the biggest company? No. It was the person who understood exactly where you were because they had walked through that themselves. Sometimes someone who's 10 years ahead can't even remember what it was like to be where you are. The person 2 steps ahead, they remember every obstacle, every mistake, every shortcut. And that's what's valuable. They can literally describe where you need to step next because they took those same steps. I often hear from some big gurus and leaders, and they talk about their big numbers, their big launch. I remember this in the beginning of my business. I heard all these speakers talking these huge 7-figure launches. And what they were never saying is like, how did they start? Or how did they grow? Or how did they build that audience? What was it like in the very beginning? What did it truly look like? I think people confuse being an expert with being a guide. Think about that. Like, what do you want, an expert or a guide? Experts know everything. Guides know the path, and people don't buy information anymore. Google has information. ChatGPT has information. People buy confidence. They buy accountability. They buy access. They buy community. They buy speed. They buy paying to collapse time. If you've already solved the problem they're trying to solve, you're qualified. Not because you're perfect, because you've been there. Like, I remember when I first started teaching marketing, I wasn't the biggest agency owner. Like, I had a really amazing exit, and I am a small percentage of humans who've ever built a marketing company and been able to sell it. But of course there's companies that were bigger than mine that exited and had bigger names or more followers and fancier degrees. Like, I don't have an MBA. I hadn't been on television. Like, I wasn't running a $1 billion company, but I had figured out something that other people hadn't. I knew how to generate clients online. That was enough, right? Then I was able to start helping people. Like, literally 1 year after selling my business, which was not a $1 billion exit, I went from the 32 clients I had in my agency to 11,000 customers. I knew how to do that so well. And I was able to take that one skill and share it with other people. And then more people, and then more people. And today I've generated more than $1 billion in sales. But I didn't wait till that happened to start showing people what I had done. If I had waited until then, none of this would have happened. None of it. Success didn't qualify me, right? Leading created the success. That's backwards from how most people think. They think, okay, when I become successful and famous and well-known and build the big audience, then I'll share it with others. No. You become well-known. You create significance. You create more success because you start sharing what you know. So number one, if people already ask for your advice, you're qualified. Think about your inbox. Think about your text messages, your DMs, the questions you're constantly answering. Those questions are telling people what they would pay you to help them solve. Pay attention to what you're being asked about. Number two, you're qualified if you've created repeatable results. Not luck, but you've developed a system. Like, could you explain how you did it? Even in a storytelling form, you don't need to have a big framework, all these crazy graphics, a whiteboard with all the strings and the pens. Like, if you could tell a story that shares how you went from where you were before to where you are now, that's a process. Like, could someone else follow that process? If yes, then you have something valuable. Number 3, you care more about the success of those you serve than proving that you're smart. That one's huge. The best mastermind leaders aren't trying to impress the room. They're not. They're trying to elevate the room. Those are 2 very different motivations. People can immediately feel the difference. And here's what actually disqualifies someone. Let me flip this around. Do you know what actually makes someone unqualified to build a group, lead a group, share what they know? Pretending that they've accomplished things that they hadn't. Okay? Selling outcomes that they never created. Teaching from a theory instead of experience. You know the people who they say, like, people who can't teach? Absolutely not. That's what disqualifies someone. Not having a $100 million company or an audience of millions. Not having 3 million followers on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Like, not speaking on huge stages. Integrity matters more than credentials. So I want you to stop asking, am I qualified? Instead, ask, who can I help? Because I've already walked this path. Like, there's someone who's literally praying for the solution you already have. And I'm going to tell you, the only people who are certain and sure when they launch something like this are complete narcissists, right? They think everything that they do is important and it completely matters. Just look at our politics. You will clearly see examples of that. So if you're unsure, congratulations, you're not a narcissist. But you're not off the hook, because that person who woke up praying to know the thing that you already know, you are the answer to their prayers. Someone who has spent years trying to figure out what you've already learned is waiting for you. Someone who's making the mistakes you've already made is waiting for you. And if you stay quiet because you're waiting to feel ready, they stay stuck. That's why I believe so strongly in masterminds. Because they aren't built around perfection. They're built around proximity. The right room changes everything. The right conversations change everything. The right people accelerate your future. So if you've created results, if you've solved a problem, if you can shorten someone else's learning curve, you're probably a lot more qualified than you think. Now, the question becomes, ready for this? What room are you going to build? Because someone is waiting for an invitation from you right now.